way of COVID has changed our way of operating, but hopefully we'll get back to a norm soon so that we can be face to face and have a more open dialogue. As I said, my name is Chief Rebecca Garcia from the City of Bridgeport Police Department. I have with me Deputy Chief Baraha. And I'd like to just present some of our presenters this evening. From the Center for Family Justice, we have Ms. Deborah Greenwood. We have Ms. Tia Reed and Joanne Montgomery from Liberations Program. We have IJ, who is also joining us with Liberations. We have Harold Dimbo from Project Longevity. We have a group from GASA, which is the Chemical Abuse Services Agent. We have Linda Keith. We have Cynthia Lazada. And we have Miss Wendy Burnett. And I will tell you, one of the things that really grabbed my attention was I was at a Liberations program event with some of our recruits where we were reaching out to the community, letting the community know what Liberations is about, and IJ is from Bridgeport Hospital, just to let and
sorry, IJ. IJ's face was like.
I was about to text you. All right, welcome to Liberations.
I know.
But we'd be happy to have him.
Yes, we would.
Family with Liberations. That's how I got to know.
They're our family. They're definitely our family.
Yes, we
can't
are.
do anything without them for sure.
So we were at an event at McCleavely Green, and one of the young ladies from CASA approached me and said, "Hey, Chief Garcia, I want to talk to you. I've been reaching out to you." And I was like, "Okay, let me introduce myself. And I'm from CASA." And she told me a little bit about it. And I was like, "Well, you're a wonderful resource. Why don't more people know about you?" So anyway, in moving this along, I'm going to give a quick briefing of what was sent to me on each person, and then I'm going to have each person represent them or speak about their company or about their program and what you have to offer. What I'm going to ask, like I said, is that everyone be respectful of each other. We're going to stick strictly to resources. Today, if you have a question, you can raise your hand, and Sergeant Carly is going to be calling on those, but those will be in between presentations, okay? Sounds fair?
Very good.
Awesome. So the first is Ms. Debbie Greenwood. She gave us a short segment on the Center for Family Justice. The Center for Family Justice has been serving the greater Bridgeport community for 125 years. That's impressive. They provide 24/7 crisis to victims of domestic violence, sexual violence, and child abuse. They are a comprehensive under one roof agency with 22 other nonprofits, as well as both of their Bridgeport-based hospitals for emergency visits. She writes, "We have a long-standing and strong relationship with our law enforcement partners." I can vouch for that. Besides the youth officers in Bridgeport for forensic interviews at the Center for Family Justice, but as well as working collaboratively with victims. We have a DV Safe House and will be opening a new expanded facility this fall of 2021. Besides hotlines, they have counseling, legal support, clinical support for children, and support groups for victims, to name just a few. Deb has she has been the CEO for 14 years and has worked in the greater Bridgeport region for over 38 years, also leading the YMCAs. So thank you, Ms. Greenwood. If you would just wave so everybody will know who you are. Thank you so much. Second, we have Tia Reed and Joanne Montgomery from the Liberations Program. It is a leading behavioral health organization specializing in treatment of substance use disorders, including alcohol, opiates, depressants, and stimulants in Fairfield County. Liberation provides services for adults, youth, and families through inpatient, outpatient, and intensive outpatient services, health education for older adults and people living with HIV/AIDS and other chronic illnesses, treatment and resources for adolescents and their families, education and prevention efforts in the community, mobile harm reduction services, and permanent supportive housing for families. Thank you, Liberation. Tia and John, if you would wave so people would know who you are. Thank you so much. IJ from Bristol. Hello, John. IJ, he is LADC, LPC, has over 15 years of experience in working with health systems in creating and maintaining state award-winning programs that identify and direct individuals needing housing, food, mental health, and substance abuse treatment or primary health care to appropriate levels of care. IJ supervises staff at Bridgeport Hospital Emergency Department and consults with emergency crisis staff in developing appropriate treatment dispositions for persons with substance abuse and or dual diagnosis issues, while working with community providers as a catalyst for the development of adequate support systems for clients in this community. Thank you, IJ. IJ, can you wave to everybody? Thank you so much. Harold Dimbo, Project Longevity. Harold, are you with us there?
He's in there, ma'am.
Yes, I'm in.
Okay. All right, Harold. Harold Dimbo worked for the City of Bridgeport's Police Department for 27 years. During that time, he worked with several task forces such as the FBI, DEA, ATF, and state police working to bring down gang violence. Later, he went on to become a detective and worked with the homicide unit and became a state-certified gang instructor. Harold has since retired and is now working with Project Longevity, which is a research-based three-pronged strategy using law enforcement, community, and service providers to reduce group gang-related homicides and gun violence in the city of Bridgeport, using the phrase, working together, we can save lives. And that is a very true statement. Hi, Harold, if you can wave at everybody. Okay. Then we have our participants from CASA. So I'm going to read you a brief snippet of each. It says, I am Linda Keith, Women's Recovery Navigator for the Women's Reach Program. The Women's Reach Program is a new program designed by DEMIS to provide outreach case management services for pregnant and or partnering women with substance use and or co-occurring disorder with the help from a recovery navigator. This program was created due to the CAPTA federal legislation that was passed regarding newborn babies that test positive for illicit substances. I'm going to let Ms. Keith further describe what she does when it's her turn up. But Ms. Keith, if you can wave to everybody or know who you are. Cynthia Lazada, the Women's Reach Program provides female recovery navigators to women that are struggling with addiction or co-occurring disorders. The REACH program was designed to provide recovery coach, outreach engagement, case management, community connections to treatment, and recovery support resources to women that are pregnant and or mothers. Ms. Cynthia Lozada. Okay, and Ms. Wendy Burnett. I am Wendy Burnett, Women's Recovery Navigator for the Women's Reach Program. The Women's Reach Program is a new program designed by DEMIS to provide outreach case management services for pregnant and or parenting women with substance use and or co-occurring disorder with the help of a recovery navigator. This program was created due to CAPTA, federal legislation that was passed regarding newborn babies that tested positive for illicit substances. If you are not familiar with this, part of this legislative requirement is that a plan of safe care is created with the mom to ensure that services are in place. The Chemical Abuse Service Agency, Inc., has been tasked with providing this service to Region 1, Bridgeport, Stanford, and Norwalk. And we also have CIRI, which is the Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Immigrants. And I didn't have anything sent to me regarding the program. But we welcome each and every one of you. As I said, together we can make things better for our community, and I truly believe that. I thank each and every one of you for being here. So why don't we start with Miss Debbie Greenwood? Good evening. Thank you for being here.
Great to be here, Chief. Thank you. The chief described what we've been doing for especially the last few years and last few decades. You know, we started as a YWCA, and then in 1997, right after the Violence Against Women Act was put in place in the United States, there were 18 agencies in the state of Connecticut that were designated to take care of their communities to help victims of domestic violence. In Bridgeport, we also take care of victims of sexual violence. And the third part of what we do, critically important, working with children as a part of the National Children's Alliance, we're a children's advocacy center. In 2016, after a lot of extra work, we took the model of a family justice center that started in San Diego, California in 2002, proven by the Department of Justice to be the best way to take care of victims of abuse, where when they're coming through a crisis, whether law enforcement is being called or our hotlines that are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, are addressing the victim to get them to come through the doors to take advantage of our free and very confidential support services. With that being said, we studied the model that started in California and brought the first Family Justice Center officially in 2016 to Bridgeport. Our model has really been something that New Haven looked at for the last 3 years, and they officially opened a year ago. And now we're actually helping Safe Futures in New London. The outcome is to decrease homicide, to also support the entire family after the crisis. As you heard Chief Garcia talk about what we do for a victim, much of it is the same and much of it is also different. People go through the court advocates that are located at Golden Hill Street. They help them navigate the court. But when we started to ask individuals that have come through the agency before we became a family justice center, the bigger question is, what is it we don't do that you needed? And it was legal services, having access to lawyers, going before a judge, having representation. So we help someone not only get to a safe place if home is not safe. We have a house that we've been putting together, and we hope to officially open this fall. We needed a lot more space. We needed larger bedrooms. The one we have had for the last 22 years was great then, but it's not conducive now. COVID only proved that too many people had to go into hotels, and that is not a safe place because it's not being manned by staff, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So with that, we're consistently looking at how to keep people safe and also help the children that are coming with the client through the doors when we can get them through the doors. And we have an extended program called Camp Hope America Bridgeport, another national model that is the only program in the country. And we use the model that started once again in California that takes kids who've gone through trauma, whether it's physical abuse from domestic violence households or sexual violence, whatever the issue may be. And we've watched for the last 5 years as we cut the ribbon on Connecticut's first one-stop shop to include children that are going through our year-long program. They also get to go up to camp. One of our partners is the YMCA, and they go to sleepaway camp with our staff, and they have access to highly trained individuals. And we don't want to do what the Y does. We don't want to run a camp, but what we can do is bring kids into a really great natural environment and then work with them all year long. So when we look at the outcomes of what we've been doing here in Bridgeport, we've actually looked at the percentages of individuals since COVID. We've had a 25% increase in spike in Bridgeport on domestic and sexual violence, primarily domestic violence. That also includes the children under the age of 18 years old coming through our doors. And we know that all of us providing the type of social services in our city is critically important to helping families and individuals get to a better place. So with that, I'm going to just pause there and say that we serve about 4,500 individuals every year. 67% of that number come from Bridgeport. And we know that whatever someone needs, whether it's food, shelter, clothing, whether they're living in a safe house or they're not, our counseling is free, our support groups are free, and everything else that we provide. And because we are here, and thank you, Chief Garcia, for organizing us, we know that we work side by side, shoulder by shoulder with law enforcement. We have a special hotline that that is just for law enforcement when they go to a 911 call. You can only imagine the danger of what they're seeing, whether it's weapons in the house, children in the house, and all of the above. So the measurement of lethality is then decided by law enforcement, and whether the client wants to leave at that time or not, law enforcement will contact that hotline number and talk to someone, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so that we can start to be on the lookout to help and support that individual. So the partnerships of everyone on this call and those that are not on this call is very important to us at the center. So I guess I'll just stop right there, but I will leave that up to everyone else that's on the call for questions.
Hey, Deb, can you tell us a little bit more about Camp Hope? Because that really impressed upon me when I was the captain of the training academy, and we actually had an academy class in place. I think it's important for the community to know that even as recruits, we had them over at the center, and we joined forces on some of the things, some of the projects with Camp Hope, and the importance of reaching out to the children that have experienced traumas, not only adults. So can you just explain a little bit more about Camp Hope and what you do with them?
I sure can, and thank you. And the relationship we've had with the recruits from the Bridgeport Police Department has really been a great platform for us, meaning the following. Kids are getting to understand that law enforcement is not the enemy. They're actually there to help you and keep you safe. And we reiterate that year long. And the kids that Chief Garcia is talking about under the age of 18 years old have gone through some horrific trauma. We use the ACEs study, which is the Adverse Childhood Experience, and we measure 10 things when a child is coming through our door. Things such as, have you ever been sexually assaulted? Do you come from a divorced household? Have there been drugs or alcohol involved? And the 10 questions go on. Have you ever been hit, punched, slapped? So the 10 questions under the ACEs study, we found that the kids coming through our program are somewhere between 6 to 8 of those questions are yeses. You can only imagine if you are a child or a teen or middle schooler, the horrific component that we just talked about. So they need a lot of support. With the consistent support of meeting on a weekly basis with our team at the Center for Family Justice, as well as going away to sleepaway camp with our staff and being in an environment that talks about team building and campfires and learning how to swim, or just enjoying the beauty and nature of the outdoors. Coming back, we find it gets very emotional. We bring the kids all back to the center 30 days later, and we measure something called hope. And our staff have all been trained in how to evaluate that. We measure them before they go to camp and then 30 days after. And in Bridgeport, Connecticut, with our Camp Hope program, 92% of the kids that we see, and we've served 170 children with a lot more to go, are the second highest hope scales in the United States. And, part of me is really proud of the staff team we have, with the partnerships that we have in Bridgeport, and looking at the kids that are coming through our doors. We know we have about 65 kids that have started 5 years ago with us. Our staff had to get trained. They had to learn more about the program. They had to go through a lot of different hoops to understand it. And then moving forward, looking at how we rank in the United States. There are currently 46 Camp Hopes in the United States. We were one of the 16 that were chosen in Bridgeport to create and look at this national program. So there's a lot of eyes on the work that's being done right in our own city on helping support victims. And these are our youngest victims. And this summer, 4 of these kids from Bridgeport are now going to be counselors. They have jobs. 2 of them have just completed their first year of college, and 2 of them have done part-time at some local community colleges as well. These are kids that felt they couldn't see their dreams, they couldn't find hope, and that there might not be a future for them. They were broken. They felt that no one really cared about them. A lot of them have parents that might be incarcerated, or parents that just have come from domestic violence households. So we're supporting not only the parent or grandparent or the guardian raising these kids, but we're really holistically taking care of everyone that needs that. And when you get to meet these kids, the whole idea is they're feeling proud of their community, that school is a good place for them, and that they're finding something that they may love or like. And not everyone wants to go to college, but they want to find a career, or they want to go into the military. It's always going to be their choice. But our job is now to help them. And we've started a mentoring program that was also awarded this year. But I think it's really neat to know, Chief Garcia, that one of the recruits last year ended up getting to know some of our kids at one of our support groups. Bottom line is now this young lady would like to become a police officer. So these are the impressions that some of the kids have, where if you met them when they were at their worst moment, the world was against them. Everything was negative, and we have an opportunity to turn it around. So Camp Hope America Bridgeport, to us, is really a treasure. So please know that it costs these kids nothing. It's my job to raise money, find sponsors, and make sure these kids are getting to go and experience this. So we have them all year long. It's Pathways to Healing. And that's pretty much the Cliff Note version of what Camp Hope America Bridgeport really is. And we thank law enforcement here in Bridgeport for their support, especially with the recruits that get to know us.
Awesome, thank you. Is there any one question for right now for Ms. Greenwood regarding the center, Camp Hope, anything?
How do you?
Oh,
Ms. Lozada, you're on mute there.
How do you get referrals, or how could we refer clients to you? And what are their requirements or your criteria?
So if you feel that there is a young man or woman under the age of 18 years old that has experienced trauma, and trauma has many, as you know, many versions. We've met many kids that they've not come from a domestic violence household, but they've lost someone in their life due to illness, homicide, whether it's violence. So I would say, please, please, please reach out to us. You can directly contact me, or if you call the center, we will connect you to the director of our Camp Hope program. Her name is Amanda Posilla. She has worked in every unit of the center over 22 years with us. She worked at court. She worked very closely with Chief Garcia when we were really learning a lot more about domestic and sexual violence. And Amanda is very passionate about the program and very educated. So please, whether it's myself, I certainly would connect you immediately to Amanda, or you can just call the center, and our receptionist will make sure that that we're connected.
Thank you for that. I'm going to introduce
How could I raise
you.
I'm trying to raise my hand. I can't raise my hand.
All right, we're gonna have one more question, Councilman Cruz, and then we're gonna jump over to deliberations, okay?
Thank you. It won't be long. Thank you. It won't be long. Thank you, Chief. No, I just want to make just a brief, quick comment. I have my personal experience when I was working with the homeless outreach team, how the Families Justice Center was quickly to respond with a few female ladies who were experiencing domestic abuse. And I just walked into the door with them, with the victims, and they immediately took them into the back room and handled the business. And so I just wanted to say that I wholeheartedly support the Families Justice Center. I'm very impressed with the kind of work that they do quickly and promptly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I was told, is it, Pastor McCluster had his hand up as well? Sergeant Carly told me that you had your hand up as well, so Pastor McCluster. I can't hear you.
It's part of my part of the beginning of the Project Hope presentation because my battery was dying. I had to run get my cord and plug up. But I've heard of some, actually met some of the folks that have come, students have come through there over cross-fertilization with the Council of Churches, juvenile justice stuff, and very, 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 very good reports from the camp. I just wondered how long it's actually been operating.
Yes, so Camp Hope America.
You just went on mute, I think.
Sorry. Oh, there you go. Sorry. So Camp Hope America started 22 years ago. And when I was working for the YMCA, I used to run camps for the post-Y. And all I could think of was I knew what I saw for 28 years. And when I heard about that particular program for children being traumatized, all I could think of was, please pick us, because this is a program. The more I heard about it, the more we needed to be part of it. So in 2016, we were chosen to be one of the 16 in the United States. And I will be honest with everyone on this call, we just were receiving a very large grant from the Elizabeth M. Freeman Foundation for the next 5 years. So that is going to sustain for the kids in Bridgeport that need this program. It will cost them nothing. And so I say to all of you, if you have kids that you think, please don't hesitate to call us. We have an incredible team. And this is our 5th season. Last year, they didn't get to go to camp, but this year, the next 2 weeks in August. And in fact, tonight, all the parents are at the Justice Center signing up and getting their kids ready. And we will help them through that process. So, it's near and dear to all of us. So thank you for asking that question. This will be our 5th season.
Well, thank you for the work. Really appreciate it.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you all. Ms. Reed and Joan Montgomery from Liberations, and then you can pull in IJ from Bridgeport Hospital, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you. I want to say thank you to Chief Garcia and to all the panelists and those of you that have joined. Like Chief Garcia said, this started on a piece of paper towel, a thought, but the idea and the premise was about what our CEO, he quotes always a famous quote, and pardon me for not having the citation, but the opposite of addiction is connection. And it's very interesting and eye-opening to see with the city of Bridgeport, how many of the services and resources that we don't know about in order to help our clients mobilize and work through some of the things that have been barriers for them. As we know, the pandemic has definitely exacerbated the epidemic of addiction. We often get reports in, and just some staggering numbers. In 2020, 1,378 overdoses, which was an increase of 14.3%. And I'm talking about in the state of Connecticut. Just in May, the CDC and DPH put out a report for Connecticut. We have 471 confirmed overdoses and 313 still pending. The reality of this is we've done a lot of events in the community, and the idea behind this is to heighten awareness. No one should die from this addiction. If there's too many resources, there's too much support. The other thing is that the harm reduction technique, which is a model for liberation program, as we just celebrated our 50 years, learned over that time is meeting people where they are, both literally and figuratively. Those of you that reside in the city of Bridgeport or even work here, I have my t-shirt on and you probably see our mobile wellness vans. And the reason why we came up with this innovative idea about the mobile wellness van is to ensure that we are literally meeting people where they are. So we know that if someone is struggling with addiction, the hardest thing for them to do is to walk through the doors of a treatment program. It's just not part of their pre-contemplation or contemplation stages of treatment or recovery. So we're connecting with them and building a relationship with them and continuing with consistency of where we are, what we offer, and letting them know that there are no barriers to treatment. That is what is eventually going to allow them to, walk through those doors to engage in treatment. We offer several programs just to inform you of what services we do offer. We have a beautiful state-of-the-art building on Mill Hill, right next to Bridgeport Hospital. We also have, which is our outpatient treatment program. We also have an outpatient treatment program in Stanford. And both of our outpatient treatment programs, we offer all of the MAT services, medication assistant treatment, which is methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, buprenorphine, because again, every type of treatment is not cookie cutter and everything doesn't work for everyone. So during that assessment process, you identify what works best for that individual. And we try to make sure we find a treatment regimen that works with them. And it's been proven, the best model and the proven statistics have shown that treatment includes therapy as well as medication. So we want to be able to educate individuals on how to access treatment and maintain that treatment. So in order to do that, we ensure that counseling groups are offered continuously. We have access to treatment. You can walk in. We do intakes within 90 minutes. If you're uninsured, we will assist you with the insurance process. If you're not able to obtain insurance, we will work with you. So we ensure we have eliminated any barriers to treatment. We also have our inpatient programs, our residential programs, which we have a 65 men's residential program, 65 bed in Stanford. And we also have a women and children's program. Our women and children's program, what makes it unique, it's also a beautiful facility in Norwalk, right next to the Norwalk Hospital. And that facility allows women to bring 2 children up to the age of 10, which is a unique concept. So that you're not only working with mom's addiction, but you're working with the parenting skills, helping her to transition and acclimate back to society. So that's something that really sets us aside to offer the men's program, but also the women and children's program as well. So I'm gonna let Joanne, did you wanna add anything?
I was on mute, I guess. No, I just wanted to thank the chief for believing in the vision that we can all work together. It really takes a village to, work with the different populations throughout the community. I've been working in the Bridgeport community for 25 years, and I've seen a lot of changes over the years. And we've really gone to a place currently with the opiate epidemic, every person that comes in for treatment should be placed on medicated assisted treatment because of the fentanyl out in the streets. So we really push that for our clients. We allow it in our residential. And, we're going to turn it over to IJ in a few minutes, but the relationship that we've built with Bridgeport Hospital, they call us, Tia and I are on call 24/7. as is IJ, and they'll call us, and, you know, somebody shows up at the emergency room who's probably not appropriate for emergency services, but has nowhere else to go and doesn't know where to turn. He'll give us the call. We'll send an outreach worker over to actually pick the client up and bring them back to the facility. Bridgeport Police will call us if they have a questionable person that they come into, you know, run into in the community, and we've gone on site and said, nope, that's mental health. They need to go, you know, in the ambulance. So I think we've come a long way over the last 25 years, and we're really happy to serve the Bridgeport community and work with everyone else on this call and many others. Because again, you know, we can't do this alone, and we appreciate the support from, you know, the police department and everyone else who believes in the vision that no one should die from this disease. So thank you again, Chief, for putting this together with Tia.
What's
Thank you
really,
so much.
what's really unique is the willingness and openness of the chief and those that are working in the department to look at individuals that, you know, may have a little excessive recidivism with the law. IJ will agree with the ED. There's a pattern and we know that, but what happens is the coordination and the communication. I mean, we are on speed dial for the department, for both Stanford Hospital and Bridgeport Hospital. And that is really the key to ensuring some continuity for that individual that may be struggling. And I think what's happened over the past year and a half now, going on 2 years with the Bridgeport Police Department, with those that are in the community day in and day out, the captains, lieutenants, chief, assistant deputy chiefs, just calling, like Joanne said, her and I, anytime they need to even just talk through a case that they know that there's another option. It doesn't have to end always in incarceration, but there is something else that that individual needs to ensure that this pattern is broken with the addiction or even the mental health. You know, we've come, you know, like Joanne said, we've come a long way the last 25 years to realize there are co-occurring disorders. Mental health and addiction are neck and neck. And then you have to treat one in order to treat the other. And that's where we're definitely becoming much more innovative, creative, a harm reduction model, where that means really understanding you can't take a person from 15, 20, 30 years of addictive behavior and just tell them to stop. You need to tell them to do less harm to themselves. Every person that walks through our door is educated on overdose prevention. They're prescribed and handed a Narcan kit. They're educated on how to use that Narcan kit, and educated enough to bring a family member to their next session to be able to understand what addiction truly means and how they can create their support systems.
Thanks for that. I think one of the important things also to mention is that through Liberation, they were able to start training our officers and our recruits as well, because we know that when you're brand new in the door, we know that that's the time to give you all the tools of the trade, so then we can do refreshers as your years go through in the department, but give you the tools of the trade right from Jump Street. And one thing that Liberation did do for us and with us is to start training our officers on Narcan. What is it? What does it impact? What are the effects of it, and how important it is to have Narcan available if someone is overdosing on an opiate. So there are other things that we're looking at bringing for our community. I'd love to include faith-based community training, but that's to come. So don't hold on to your hat for that, but we have more to come. IJ, would you like to jump in now?
Hello, thank you so much. Thanks, Tia.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chief Garcia. I really appreciate the invite. So you said everything so well, Tia. Addiction connection is the way to deal with addiction. And thanks to you and Joanne and Liberation as a whole in helping us manage this issue, this problem. So I supervise 3 amazing staff at Bridgeport Hospital Emergency Department, and their job is they're called health promotion advocates. And literally their job is to they use an SBIRT model. SBIRT is an acronym for screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment. So their goal is to meet with patients and ask, what can we do to help you manage your utilization? It started out as a way to cut costs for emergency departments. There's this role I'm playing now. I did that at Middlesex Hospital in Middletown. And quickly we realized that it's not just about ED utilization and costs. It's about asking the question of, what do you need? Because a lot of people find the ED, especially EDs in a city, as a safe place. So if they don't have a place to stay, if they don't have any food, if they have any issues at all, the ED is the place to go. So we started asking the question, and I started posing the question, and along with other clinicians, saying, what can we do to provide wraparound services to our patients when they come in? And so we started making connections with our community providers. So our role, the HPA roles, the staff that I supervise, our role is simply to act as a liaison between the hospital and the community providers, because we can't do it alone. So I'm always calling Tia, or Tia is always calling me, actually, more than the other way around, asking me, who is this patient? What can I do? Give me something to help me help them, right? So we coordinate quite a lot. Their MAT services, the medication-assisted treatment program, is invaluable. We have one of the highest incidents of overdose. So we're very quickly making referrals to Liberations. We do other community providers as well. And we just try to get all hands on deck. It takes a village, as Joanne said. So we can't do much without any of the providers that are here on the table. And I'm hoping that I can gain more resources. And you guys can also rely on us, call us, and I would like us to meet the patient where they are, and they don't always need to come to the emergency department. Not just in a psychological sense, meet them where they are, but even physically. And that's my role, is now to look for a way to be more mobile to our patients rather than letting them come to us. And that's the next task I have set for myself. Looking for navigators, someone that can do some outreach work to meet our patients physically where they are. So that's still an early process, and I'll keep you guys posted. And I hate to say this, but I have to leave by 6:30. I hate to say, I thought this would be, I judged it for an hour, but.
No worries. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you further. We do know, especially with law enforcement, we talked about recidivism, and I think that it's key, and I think every law enforcement officer will tell you that intervention is key. And you know what? If you want to go to a program, if you're homeless, and we can be of assistance by calling some of our resources, then why not do that, right? I dealt with someone that was homeless. Actually, Deputy Chief Baraha and I were driving back into the department one day, and we saw a gentleman on the corner, and I was like, you know, I want to talk to him. And I stopped and I started talking to him. I introduced myself, and he was an amazing person, homeless person with some mental health issues. And I called Liberations. I called Tia. I said, Tia, I need your help. You know, I have this person, they need your help. And they were out there. The van was out there. And you know what? They got there, I left, because I didn't want the person to think that, you know, it was, you know, that it was going to be a law enforcement issue, for example, an arrest or anything of that nature. It wasn't about that. It was about getting this person help. And every time that we have called, they've been readily available. Their van is out there, is in some of the hot spot areas, as we call them, where we know that there are people that need help with substance use, homelessness, etc. Mr. Cruz, I see you have your hand up.
Yes,
I just
thank you.
want to say one more quick thing, Jorge, before you, because I know we're going to move on to the next panelist, but I'm not sure what levels from each organization, but I want to just give this shout out because the connection and innovation has to be supported by the leadership. And I can't encourage enough for those that are in leadership positions to support the crazy radical ideas that some of your staff may have, because those are the ideas that birth success. And of course, they may need some tweaking, but when you do that family test of, you know, the agency liberation, if you or a loved one needed some services, our clinicians, all the way up to our administration, are phenomenal employees, and they're dedicated to seeing us combat this, you know, addiction. So I just want to really encourage those that are in positions to really, you know, create those conversations of those that are working on the front line, because that's where the innovation comes in of how to really, you know, combat this pandemic, this epidemic, everything that we're going through. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Okay.
George?
Yes, thank you. Thank you again, Chief. You know, this area here that we're discussing, I'm not an expert, but I'm a man with lived experiences, recovering addict. I'm very transparent. I have no shame, no matter where I say it, no matter where I share it. I'm a man that put a face on recovery. That's what CCAR is all about. Now that I mentioned CCAR, I wish a member from CCAR was in this group here too, because they have a center that is open from 9 to 5 at 430 State Street. And they have recovery meetings. They have other programs in groups there Monday through Friday. What I like to share is this. Not to put anybody on blast or anything. I was working for RMP, and one of the seminars in Shelton, I had an issue with methadone. I used to be on methadone years ago. I never went above 60 milligrams. When I asked certain questions about why programs are allowing people to go above 60 milligrams, even up to 100 milligrams of methadone, it seems like I ruffled some feathers, because when I got back to Prospect House, the shelter that I was working at, I got called into the office and they asked me if I had a problem with methadone. I don't have a problem with methadone. I think methadone is good for what it is, as long as it's balanced with counseling and meetings and groups. But I feel that the methadone is being abused by various organizations. Nobody should be on anything above 60 milligrams. And I feel that the doctors or the people that are running these organizations are basically enabling these people to continue that mindset that they have to codepend on that methadone. The whole idea about methadone is to get them stable to a point for a certain amount of months, and then when they are ready, to start weaning them down. That's not happening. I know about many, many people who are methadone of over 100 plus milligrams. The other thing is, I work as a recovery support specialist right now for the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, and I work with people who suffers from mild to severe mental illness and substance abuse. And what I see in Bridgeport is that we only have one program, and that is New Prospect, that deals with co-occurrence disorders. And there's not enough beds here in the city of Bridgeport to have quick and easy access for people who wants to get into program. I know that Tia and Liberation are doing an outstanding job in taking people to the Mill Hill and taking them to Liberation. However, in Bridgeport, we need more beds. We need more beds for treatment. That's what I am proposing. And as a city councilman, that's what I am pushing for. More beds for treatment, more beds for homelessness, because we got a couple of shelters here that basically are not living up to the standards to be able to bring these people off of the street. So this is just the first meeting, but I just wanted to throw that out there as a man of lived experience. When you talk about substance abuse and mental health, I'm not an expert, but I'm a man with lived experiences. And I take it very serious. Those are the things I take very, very serious. So I just hope that as we go along with this dialogue, that we start discussing those things about potentially having more access to beds here locally for treatment and for homelessness. That's it. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just respond, George, to that really quickly. So the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, who actually funds the beds with the Department of Social Services, they're actually, because we wanted more beds, we wanted to, do another residential program. They're actually moving away from that and looking at the home model. They feel like people can be managed better in their community with the help of recovery coaches and everything like that. So I don't think it's lack of willingness on providers' part to get more beds out there. It's just not the direction that the state is moving in right now. And the other thing that I wanted to say is totally respect your opinion, but through research, an actual dose of methadone should be between 80 and 120. So that's the recommendation. The other thing is, in the past, it was a bridge to go on methadone and then to get them off to abstinence. The issue now, because of the fentanyl crisis, they are suggesting that people stay on it longer because you're at the highest risk of overdose for people coming out of detox, out of incarceration, or stopping a medicated assisted treatment. So I just wanted to, throw that out there.
And I respect that, but I still feel it needs to be revised. It needs a very serious look. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, George. If there are no further questions for deliberations at this time, we will move on to Project Longevity and Harold Denbo.
Thank you, Chief. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Okay.
Harold.
Okay, I want to bring in that Project Longevity. It's a three-pronged operation which consists of the community, service provider, and law enforcement. This base initiative is our goal to reduce gun violence. Now, there's a Project Longevity also in New Haven and in Hartford. So saying that, I'm going to go with Project Longevity is gearing towards the community to learn how to police themselves. We've been a law enforcement officer for many years, you lock people up and they come back out and they don't have a job, then they go back to jail. And all we was seeing was a Band-Aid being put on. So they came up with this idea. Actually, it was originally called Ceasefire. And they brought it down to Connecticut, where it started in New Haven, then it came into Bridgeport. So when it came into Bridgeport, we knew that we have to be a little different and more inventive. So what we did was start going into the community and finding out what exactly the problem is. We started dealing with kids at risk and family who have kids at risk. We started realizing that the police would never be able to stop the gun violence in Bridgeport. It would have to be done within the community. So we really work hard on the community and we build it together, the community trying to close that gap between the community and the police. We also learn by working with the community, you have a lot of mothers who are traumatized. You have a lot of kids who are traumatized. So one of the ways that Project Longevity started doing was working with the police department, and we would put together, which is called a custom notification. So this custom notification, after we learn of a young man at risk, we would go to that house and we'll literally talk with them, talk with the parents, bring everybody in and see how we can help them to see what can we do to get them away from the gun violence. Now, as you all know, that back in the days, we had gangs. We don't have gangs no more. The Latin Kings, the Brotherhood, the Nation, they're all gone. What we have now are groups. So it's whatever side of town you live on. So by having Project Longevity meet with law enforcement, which is parole, probation, we actually, and all the task force, we actually learned that Bridgeport could only go on certain sides of town. The north end can't go to the east end can't go to west end can't go to south end. And this fighting that they're doing goes back 15 years ago of a killing that happened, and everybody is just won't let it go. So what we're trying to do now is just bring each side of town together. And like I said, we do it by doing custom notification. We also have a call-in. These are selected few that we know that are out there that who was either shooting or coming back in society. We bring them into a call-in. When we talk to them, we give them the message that the violence must stop. We also let them know that if you want to stop, we have service providers that can actually help you, and Project Longevity actually can help. We help them get their driver license, CDL, which is very big, culinary, which is doing well. We work with housing, so we actually have some housing vouchers. So anybody who get a job and can maintain that job for 6 months, we offer them Section 8. We also started a mothers group called Sisters at the Shore, because we realize there's a lot of mothers who have the same problem, but in the Black and Latino neighborhood, they're not gonna call the police and say, I'm having a problem with my son, or my son is out here with a gun. So we had to gain their trust. And by gaining their trust, we're finding out now, we're getting phone calls where parents will call and say, I don't want my son to go to jail, but I don't want him to die neither. How can Project Longevity help? And we're able to sit down with the parents and work with the parents. And we actually turn some kids around, which they're doing positive. So Project Longevity, we like to look at it as this is a community family program, because basically all we're doing is what we knew we had to do before, was to bring the community to police themselves, trust one another. And then from there, we could pretty much bring this gun violence down. I don't want to, I could go on and on and on, Chief, but I just want to hit the edge of it because I know time is running out.
Thanks for that, Harold. So I think one of the important facets that Harold has spoken about is relationship with the community, and that's what we want to make sure that we're establishing is relationship with the community, letting the mothers that are grieving. There are too many moms that are grieving the loss of their children, the loss of a loved one. And that's one of the big things with Sisters at the Shore, that they get together, they pray on Sundays at Seaside Park in the morning, 9 a.m., and they just stand there in silence and pray at the shore. And they're a support group for each other and for other moms that may not be a part of the team yet. But I think it's important that they're able to express themselves and express the concerns for their children, and to be able to be part of that intervention that we've all been talking about regarding violence and gun violence, resources if you're trying to come back into the community after you're out of prison, after you've been incarcerated, letting people know that there are resources available and the opportunity for life change. Right, Harold? Is that in a nutshell?
It's pretty much in a nutshell. And also Project Longevity is not law enforcement driven. Law enforcement is there, but they're not actually trying to make arrests. They're trying to help. So everybody needs to know that, because there was rumors out that Project Longevity is nothing but the police trying to put our kids in jail. And that's not true, because me and the chief, we sit down for hours thinking of ways, how do we keep them from going to jail, or what can we do to try to prevent them from going to jail? So this program is more towards the 21st policing, which is you don't lock, if you can, you try to help them before they get locked up, so that you can lost my thought. It's not for locking them up, it's to keep them out of jail. And we're not trying to arrest the kids, we're trying to help them. And the only way we can help them is to get inside of the families, get with the parents and find out what the problem is. And then we work together to try to solve the problem. And there's a couple of members that we have that came in Project Longevity. One person was shot twice and was in and out of jail a couple of times. And Now he actually just got his master's degree in college, and he's doing real well. We have other stories of people in their CDL, and now they're buying houses, welders, and one guy was learning how to do welding, and he ended up giving back his Section 8 vouchers because he was making too much money, and he wanted to give his voucher to somebody else who needs it. So we have a lot of success story, and it's been proven over and over and over again. If you help a person and show them the road to go, they will be all right. Because we do know that there's not enough, there's a lot of family that is just, the kids are being raised by just the mother, and the mother is struggling. And we also learned that there's a lot of family where the 16-year-old son is pretty much supporting the family. Now we got to bring that back to where the 16-year-old son go to school instead of being out there selling drugs, and we try to help the mother get a job. We also know that if there's a problem within the household, you can take one of the child and take them to some type of mentor program. And he's good when he's with the mentor, but he still got to come home to that same environment. These are things that we've been overlooking over the years where we was wondering. We do have a gun violence problem rather. And back in the days when there was drugs, there was a program called DARE. And that's when crack first came out. And it was all about, DARE was basically about gangs. Then the GREAT program came out. That's around the time the crack was in, and that was about drugs. There is no program now for gun violence. With the chief and FBI, United States Attorney Office, working on a program right now that's called Fed Up. And this program is going to be in the school, and we're hoping that it will be in the school all next year. That's going to give the kids an opportunity to speak on how they feel about gun violence. We did a little pilot program last month. We did it to a few kids. It was amazing how the kids raised their hands up. And when we asked them, how many of you are afraid? The whole classroom raised their hand up. You know what that is? That's called traumatized, because they've seen and they've been around, and they're afraid that they're going to be killed next. So we have to have a program to where the kids can actually express themselves, because if not, this is how they end up getting the gun and protecting themselves, because they don't want to die. So, and the chief also has another program that we're working on that will be dealing with juveniles at risk. And we hope to get to them to try to find out. So Project Longevity is a good program that actually are touching the kids that have the guns, or touching the kids that are still in the cars, or touching the kids who are actually, some of them might have already shot somebody or even killed somebody. But the problem is, if we don't do something, it will not stop, and it'll continue. So that's one of the things that Project Longevity is, to get out in that area, boots on the ground, go right to the problem, try to fix the problem and make a change. And we're not going to always win this battle, and we know that. We have two young men that we was working with Project Longevity, and one just got killed on the highway on Route 8. And we knew him well, and we was working with him, and he was saying that he was going to stop. He was leaving the area, but on his way down to Georgia, he was cut off, and he was killed on the highway. And we had another young man that we was working with that was trying to change his ways too, but he never made it. So we know we're working with the right kids. We just have to keep going. And like I said, some of them we're not going to be able to save, but if we can just stop them at a young age and change that mindset and help the mothers who are really struggling, that are too proud to go and ask somebody for help. Or when they went to the courts told them that, well, we can't do anything for your son or daughter because they haven't been arrested. We have to be there for that answer. And that's what Project Longevity is. A place where a person can talk to and tell how you feel, and we can get it to the right person.
Thanks, Harold. Pastor McCluster, you have a question for Harold Dimbo? We can't hear you, sir.
Technology. Okay, so actually it's not a question. I just want to share something that's going on that might really bring some of these pieces together. At least we hope that we can help bring pieces together. So been led recently to really reach out because of the gun violence, and it's just a national issue. It's not just our issue, but to really call the houses of worship of all faiths together to start a prayer initiative around gun violence. And I think that what we found in talking to people as beginning to set this up is that many people just don't, I mean, look, you guys are doing great work, and I've been with Longevity. Harold, you're a beast, man. I'm so proud of you and what you're doing, and the Hope program. I mean, all these things are here, but some people just really don't know where to turn, and they're inundated with the press around them. So what we want to do is just use the churches, the mosques, the synagogues, the houses of worship as a unified unit to reach out and begin to talk about this issue. We feel very comfortable. The leadership of the group that's formed feels very comfortable with the chief and the police department and where they are as it relates to gun violence. I mean, there's always people who disagree with something, but nobody's agreeing that people should be getting shot in the streets. So I'm saying all that to say that as we bring this together over the course of the next 3 to 6 weeks, we're going to be working with the chief. We're going to be asking that each one of the organizations, for the very specific and special part that you play in it, would also then, make this information known, be willing to talk to the houses of worship. We're going to try to bring clusters of leaders together so you don't have to go house to house to house like that. And we'll be asking the chief to help facilitate some of those meetings with the faith leaders. But we're dead serious about it. We're sick and tired of doing the funerals. We're sick and tired of the kids getting killed. We're sick and tired of, young kids being thrown in jail. So thanks for listening to my tirade. But what it comes down to is our action now is to pull people together and to pull them together for prayer as a pointed action to begin to address the issue. Now we believe, in prayer as a call to God for God to help change things. But the old saying says, think globally and act locally. So we're thinking globally about this issue and how it's gun violence, but the locally and act locally is your organizations and your agencies and the things you're doing. So I pray that as we move forward with it, you'll give it a chance, no matter how effective or ineffective faith organizations have been in the past, no matter how dedicated or not dedicated they've been. When we come to the fall, we're going to be, we expect to launch this initiative in the fall. It's part of a national initiative. And we're just asking that you would just accept us as a partner in that process, and you'll hear more about it. So thanks for listening. Thanks for the air to share that. I'm just, we're tired of sitting around, saying, oh, we're praying for you not to get shot. We got to get engaged with you guys and really support the programs and really work closely with law enforcement. We have enough good law enforcement folks to make this thing happen, right? So thanks for listening on that. That's what's up.
Thank you, Pastor.
Agreed. That's great idea. Thank you for that. I have 2 more people to present, or 2 more organizations to present, so I want to move this along. I think this is great information, great concepts, and great thought process moving forward as well. So we just don't want to come today and put everything in one bottle, right? We want to make sure that we continue to grow what we're doing, come up with a plan of action, and then always follow up and see what things have been done, what can we do further, and what the impact has been. So I look forward to the fall as well, Pastor McCluster. So next we're going to have our CASA team, and that's going to be Linda Keith, Cynthia Lazada, and am I missing someone? Yes, and Ms. Wendy Burnett from CASA. Thank you for being a part of this today.
And Charnel Branyan, I'm part of CASA as well.
Hi, Charnel.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much.
So I'll speak first in regards to the overview of CASA, the agency as a whole, and I'll let Linda, Cynthia, and Wendy speak to the Women's Reach program. So CASA is a multicultural program agency in the Bridgeport area. CASA has been around for a little over 30 years. Our executive director is Asher Delerme, and our associate director is Kristen Bonilla, both having you know, well over 20 to 30 years in the addiction field and serving the Bridgeport area. So CASA, we have a multitude of programs in the Bridgeport area. In the New Haven area, we have our methadone clinic. In the Bridgeport area, though, we have a few programs. We have a clinical residential program for Spanish-speaking only men. That's called Casa Ostos. It's actually over on Arctic Street. They also offer outpatient counseling to men and women that are Spanish speaking only. We definitely, I know everyone on this call can agree as well that there are not that many Spanish speaking only programs that are available. So CASA has, you know, taken the call and have been, you know, very influential in making sure that we reach our brothers and sisters, as well as we also offer a Latino outreach. And we have someone that goes out in the community during the week, on the weekend, to, you know, again, find women and men that are struggling with substance use and or mental health and, you know, provide additional services. We also offer a supportive residential housing. That's Recovery House and Noble House. Those are over in the Iranistan area. And we also offer a supportive housing program, which is Areto Housing Apartments, which is where Women's Reach is housed. But we also offer case management through those programs as well. Again, Spanish speaking. You can also check the CASA website, or you can email me or contact me as well. I'm also the program director for a women's program that we have called Project Courage. Project Courage is a women's counseling program for women who are pregnant, parenting, single, that are in the Bridgeport area. We offer group counseling 3 days a week. We offer individual counseling. We offer an intensive level of outpatient counseling, as well as a lower level of outpatient counseling. When a woman is involved in our services, we also offer during group time childcare. We found that, you know, a lot of the barriers to treatment is childcare and transportation. So one thing that we did was make sure that that does not become a barrier. So we will provide transportation from the woman's home to the program. We also offer, again, childcare while the woman is in group. We offer site care while they're in treatment with us as well. We offer Suboxone care. We work closely with Liberation. I was just telling Kristen that you were on the call. I believe she's in a meeting this evening. But yeah, we, you know, want to make sure that, and I should say with the how we are housed, we're actually across the street from Washington Park. We're next to a church. We're in a home. So it's very inconspicuous. No, it's very confidential. It's a gray house that someone's coming into, and we made it that way, and it's been made that way because it was made that way before I got there, so that women will feel comfortable in bringing their children there. And we also offer lunch during that time. Just as Tia was saying with Liberation, we do offer services through your insurance with Anthem, with Medicaid. We also, you know, do work with women and work with people with women, I should say, who don't have insurance as well. So we want to make sure that, so we do a case management piece, as well as the clinicians offer clinical services. Again, we offer the Women's Reach program, and I'll let Cynthia, Linda, and Wendy talk about that. But on that program, we also are offering, which I was just in a meeting yesterday with Demas, which is a family recovery navigator. So this person would actually, and that's one position that we have open, where this person would do outreach with the family, with single parents, whether it's a male, if it's female, if it's grandparents, if it's the LGBT community. That person would help make sure that that family stays connected. A lot of our services that we work with, DCF, we work with DSS, work with a lot of the resources that are here now. And, you know, I just want to thank Chief Garcia and Tia for putting this informational together. It's been very informative. And I know I've been taking notes and definitely plan to reach out to a lot of the leaders that are on the call. So I'll turn it over to the women. And I'm also the program director for Women's Reach. So I'll turn it over to them to talk about the Women's Reach program.
Thanks, Chanel.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, I'll go. So Reach is definitely meet them where they are. We work with women who are parenting and or pregnant with substance abuse and or mental health. And they must have children. And we meet them where they are. We are that bridge to treatment and after treatment. After IOP, we are 24 hours. If I get a call from a client in the middle of the wee hours in the morning, you know, just that support that women live, that women need to get through that moment at times. And having lived experience, I'm definitely there for them. I will pick my phone up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning if a client calls and needs to get through the moment, or even just needs to get out of the atmosphere. But also ensuring my safety as well as the client's safety. We advocate with DSS, Social Security, getting them connected to other services they may need. You know, we used to say housing, but that makes the women think we have housing, and we do not have housing. So we just try to connect the women to other programs and other services that are needed. So that's it. And I definitely, with FERP, I have a connection with FERP. I'm usually, if the women are staying in Region 1 after treatment with FERP, after the 90-day treatment, they're usually connecting with me once they come out of FERP. And because I still work at FERP per diem, I already have a relationship with the women that are coming out into Region 1. So that makes it so much easier, and they're so much more comfortable and even open to just deal with the support or get the support that is needed to go on to the next part of their journey. Cynthia or Wendy?
Hi guys, my name is Cynthia Lazada, and I'm the bilingual recovery navigator here for the Women's Reach program. We are a statewide program, and we're broken into 5 different regions, and we are part of Region 1, and that territory spans from Greenwich all the way through the Monroe, Stratford, Bridgeport town lines. If we have a client that is moving out of our region, it is very easily to transfer from navigator Region 1 to someone in Hartford or someone in, you know, Willimantic or what have you. Like what Linda said, you know, we are coming from, us 3 are passionate about our jobs because we are coming from lived experience. I'm sober 3.5 years. And I'm so grateful and honored to be sitting here with you guys, because 4 years ago, I was on the streets and I was, you know, I had a drinking issue and struggled with mental health, and I was homeless and I didn't have a car or a job. And it was through a recovery coach or a navigator that changed my life. So I do know this program works because it worked for me. It's like, you know, programs say it works if you work it. We're here to help motivate, inspire, encourage women, and to show them that a life in recovery is worth it. You know, I'm just so happy to be here. That I can't believe it. I really can't. Debbie, I know that you said that you had mentioned something about sleepaway camps. If you want, give me a call. I know 2 organizations that your children would benefit from. I help women partner up with the community's resources. And I know of 2 different camps that do sponsor children also. And that's one of the beautiful things about the connections that I've made in the community, because I've personally used them myself. I've partnered up with Dress for Success. I've had my clients get thousands of dollars in money for rent rental arrears or utility assistance through programs like Salvation Army and the Unite Connecticut program. I work well with Operation Hope and American Job Centers. We get my clients into programs like the JFIS free training program. Right now, I'm working with a client who is getting her license for CDL for free. So it's just one of these things that, you know, my job is my passion. So it doesn't feel like I'm doing any work. And that's why we do pick up that phone call in the middle of the night, because we know that that's the difference between using, not using, drinking or not drinking. And we want to just share this program with all of you. I think one of the biggest things for me here today is to create a relationship with all of you, because we would like to enhance your program. Like Liberation's doing such great work that we would also want to be, you know, on your speed dial and use us as a resource. We're here to help enhance your programs. You know, we're not trying to compete with anyone. We want to definitely get our program out there, and we just want to, you know, help women and achieve recovery.
Fantastic.
So,
Thank
hello, I'm Wendy, and I want to thank everyone that shared before me and who shared for the awesome programs that you work for. Just a prime example of something that I do. I had a client who was in a sober house who had just gotten thrown out because she relapsed and went back out. She was homeless on the street. So for the last couple of days, we were working on finding a place to get her into, a program to get her into. We finally did at Blue Hills Hospital. And last week I was able to drive her up there and drop her off right at the front door. And it just was such a gratifying feeling to have another addict come off of the street, you know, and going through that myself and being in recovery myself, you know, part of my job is to let them know, you know, if I can do it, so can you, you know. And I just appreciate Women's Reach program, and I love my job. I love what I do. I love going out there, outreaching, going to the food pantries, just getting the word out there and letting them know. You know, picked up 2 women yesterday, and you know, I'm just gonna keep moving forward and doing what I do because I just love it.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Amen. Amen to that, sister.
I agree. There's doesn't have to be competition. Everybody can work together, and we offer more resources when we work together. So last but not least, I have Theory, which is I'm sorry, Tia, you have a question. I'm sorry.
I actually just had a comment. I just wanted to make a comment to CASA, you know, specifically the women that are out there, Linda, Cynthia, Wendy. When I tell you they are passionate about what they do, the moment you are struggling with trying to mobilize resources for no matter this panel or anything else going on, especially Linda will just kind of pop up somewhere or call for some strange reason. And I literally just sent you an email, Linda, about a young lady that we need your services for. But this is just another example. I want to just thank you, you know, women, for being available, because, you know, what we've noticed in the world of addiction and mental health, statistically, men are more apt to seek out treatment because women are typically looked at as the providers. And it's hard sometimes for them to reach out for services, and you make it seamless. So I just wanted to just say that right quick. I really appreciate everything that you guys do, because you put yourself literally in the center of it and let people know if you did it, they could do it. So I appreciate you guys for that.
Tia,
Yeah.
if I could just piggyback
Thanks, Tia.
off of that, Reach was founded, I mean, not Reach, yeah, Women's Reach was created in 2019. And, you know, trying to find a team that works well together, that's able to get out there. And I'm pretty sure that everybody on here can contest when you're trying to find staff to really go out and do the work. I've been in the field close to 25 years, and to be able to work with women who are really passionate about what they do and are really
will go over and beyond. Like Wendy said, she has traveled all the way to Hartford to bring someone. Cynthia has gone, you know, to meetings after meetings of getting the word out. Linda has traveled back and forth from Middletown to Bridgeport to really give the women that we serve a fighting chance, to let them know that recovery is possible. And it was really hard to, you know, really find women that were willing to speak about their own story. And it's different, a little bit different from recovery coaching. You know, with recovery coaching, you're kind of like adjacent to someone who is in recovery. In these positions as a recovery navigator, you had to have your own story, and they're able to truly speak of their story and speak about survivorship as well. So I'm blessed every day to be able to work with the three women and just to continue to see the growth in the work that they do. They definitely go over and beyond, and I'm happy to have them on board. I appreciate them every day. So thank you.
I'd like to take a quick pause and say that I also thank you for what you do, because we deal with this every day. And we know that without people that are out there that understand what some people that are still going through on the street, because I can help them in one way, or I can be the face that's going to have to take them in for whatever reason. But when we have a face that understands what they're going through, their difficulties, constraints, their needs, and that is you. That is you all, the faces of recovery and the faces of success. So I also would like to thank you for that, and thank you for what you're doing and being a part of this and caring about our community so that we can effectuate positive change. We can continue to do that. Thank you so much. And now we will go over to CIRI, which is the Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Immigrants. We're going to have, I was told that Leonella would be presenting for CIRI.
Yes.
Leonella, if you're on.
Yes, I am. And thank you so much for inviting us. And Susan sent her regards and apologies. She had an emergency that came up. So I know we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to provide just a quick overview on the services that we provide at CIRI, so the Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Immigrants. We were previously known as ICON, and although the change happened a few years ago, I know a lot of people still go and call it ICON. Just so you guys know, the International Institute, but we actually began in 1918 as the YWCA. So we've been around for over 100 years. And we've been serving clients from over 90 countries. And our services include refugee services. So we resettle refugees throughout the state of Connecticut, but primarily Fairfield County. We also have a robust immigration program. Our offices are set up in Bridgeport, Hartford, Stamford, and the Waterbury office, and we work on a sliding fee scale. So basically, we work with the client. We want to ensure that they get the services that they need, specifically for our foreign-born that are often looking for those immigration services and oftentimes can't afford them due to the prices, and they're often very long cases. So we offer that, and we offer that at the 4 sites that I just mentioned. We also have the Survivors of Torture program, and that program specifically works with survivors of torture. It is a federally funded program that works statewide. And then we have Project Rescue. And Project Rescue, that's the program that I oversee. I'm the director of the program. And we work with victims of human trafficking as well as unaccompanied minors. You know, I think when we look at the data, when we look at numbers, it's so important. And I think, you know, all the providers here are well aware of that. But when we look at numbers, it's so important to remember that it's more than just that number, that in that number, we have family members, people that want to move forward, people that want to become self-sufficient and integrated into the community. And that's what our mission is, really. We want to ensure that people have the tools that equip them to be able to be self-sufficient, be a part of the community. And once we step away, that they're able to do these things on their own, right? Obviously, we're there to provide that support. For example, with the refugee program, we resettle the refugees as soon as they come into the country, but we can work with them for a period of 5 years if that's needed. So we have some clients that come back when they need that support, very similar to the Project Rescue program, our anti-human trafficking program. I think we saw that trend a lot more with COVID, right? Where we have up to a year where we work with the clients, but a lot of these clients needed that support after the year, just because of circumstances that we're all aware of, you know, the jobs, education, their immigration status, things that we were providing support with. So those are just some of the programs that we work with. But I kind of wanted to provide, I guess, somewhat of a story of the type of client that we work with. So it's not a specific client that we're working with, because obviously I have to protect confidentiality, but just to somewhat give an idea. So if you imagine a 17-year-old boy, and this 17-year-old boy lives in X country, we'll say somewhere in Central America, and this young boy has not a normal life like what we would think here, where he's going to school, maybe hangs out with his friends. This is a minor that has witnessed multiple family members getting murdered, and he is the one taking care of that entire family. There comes a point where he can no longer do this, and he is forced to flee, because whenever he leaves his home, they're trying to recruit him into a gang. And if he doesn't join that gang, that means that they could murder his family. That means that he could potentially be hurt or murdered. So he decides to leave. Some of the comments that I've heard some of the clients that we work with say is that oftentimes they'd rather risk the journey and know that there is the potential to die than to stay there and not try. So we see that with a lot of the clients. So we're thinking this 17-year-old boy, he makes it all the way to Mexico, whether it's by bus, whether it's walking, whether it's a car, train, however it is, makes it all the way to Mexico. At that point in Mexico, he meets someone that he thinks he can trust that will help him cross that border into the US. In many of our cases, what ends up happening, that ends up being a trafficker. And many of these children, like this 17-year-old boy, they're forced to bring those drugs in a backpack, transport everything over for those traffickers. Weeks go by, he's able to escape, and he runs into CBP, so Border Patrol. And at that point, it is something that he needs the assistance. He's transferred over to the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and he's placed in a shelter. At that point, that minor identifies the needs, and they're looking for a sponsor where they can connect this minor to. They identify a sponsor, and it's not a biological parent, it's not a family member, but it's a family friend. And that's as close as the shelter can get to the connection that the minor may have. So they connect that minor. And at that point, that minor is referred for services when they connect with that sponsor, because there's something that was flagged in the case. When that case is flagged, we get the case referred over to us. As we know, unaccompanied children, they've been in the media for quite some time. The numbers are much larger than what we see. We're contracted to serve only a certain number of those minors, although we know that there are many out there that need the services. So at that point, our case manager goes to see this 17-year-old boy, and they begin having conversations. And that case manager realizes this child was trafficked, and we need to get this child connected to services right away. And it wasn't picked up on the interview in the shelter. It wasn't picked up in the interview when they're apprehended at the border. It may have been because the minor was too nervous and just didn't want to share that information. So at this point, we connect them to our immigration legal services, but we specifically connect them to one of our attorneys that works in the anti-human trafficking program, because we want to ensure that we are screening them not only for trafficking, but any immigration relief that they may be eligible for. So it's not just the T visa, there's other forms of relief. So once they have identified that this minor is in fact a victim of human trafficking, they refer them over to Project Rescue. Project Rescue provides the social services for victims of human trafficking, but also the immigration legal services when a victim of human trafficking is foreign born. The reason I share that story is because when we look at this minor, this minor has gone through 3 of our programs. So our immigration program, our unaccompanied minors program, as well as our program that serves victims of human trafficking. As I mentioned, with our unaccompanied minors program, it is a very particular program. And you know, this on a personal level, I wish we could take more unaccompanied children that we serve, but we're contracted to only serve a certain number that are referred. We know we've been contacted by schools that I know need that additional support when it comes to unaccompanied children, specifically that age group between 15, 16, and 17. And we also have our anti-human trafficking program, and that is a federally funded program. Although the story that I just shared is a foreign-born, we work with all victims of human trafficking. We also work statewide, and our goal is to provide them with the services that we can to help them build that life that they deserve, to be able to speak about their story if that's what they choose, and move forward. And we work again with domestic and foreign-born, and I think it's important to stress that none of this work would be possible if it wasn't for the partners and the people in the community. We know that human trafficking is a very difficult crime to uncover. They often work in networks. They move people around very quickly. They don't have to move through states, but they can move through cities, through neighborhoods. So it's one of those programs that collaboration is essential. So when we were invited to this, it's definitely exciting to be able to talk to others and have others learn about our program. I think if we take anything from this meeting is to remember that hotline number, and that is 1-888-373-7888. And I share that at every conversation that we have, every training presentation. I think it's important. As we all know, I think everyone here is, we don't want to engage, but we want to report, right? That's what law enforcement is there for. And we have been very fortunate enough to work with law enforcement partners that understand and work with our victims to ensure that they are able to speak about the crime that has happened. And then in terms of all the services that we provide at CRE, our number is 203-336-0141. Again, if there's ever any question in terms of immigration, one of the programs that we offer, feel free to give us a call. We also offer and tailor our trainings to whatever it is that you guys would be interested in learning. Oftentimes we get requests on what is human trafficking and immigration services. So if there's ever any interest in that, feel free to give us a call or send me an email. But I think I'll stop there unless there's any questions for me.
Yes, it looks like Ms. Cynthia Lazada has a question for you.
Hi, yes,
Hi.
I do. So do you give like any classes or instruction on how to look for signs? I mean, I deal with women in addiction and recovery that suffer a lot of trauma, and I wouldn't even know where to, how to even begin to assess. Is that something that is offered by you guys?
Yeah, so we actually offer trainings on how to identify victims of human trafficking, what are the red flags, who to report to. We often do it ourselves, but we also collaborate with partners in doing that. And we can tailor it to however long you want it to be, however short you want it to be. Like I said, I think the important thing is, I think as a state is getting out there and getting the information to everyone. So even if it's like a 5-minute engagement, we'll talk about what a victim of human trafficking is. So I wrote your name down, so I think if we can connect after the meeting,
That would be
we
great.
can try and set something up.
Great, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question for Ms. Leonela?
Yes, Chief, if Miss Cruz, if you could please give me the number again, your number, contact numbers that we could call.
Okay, so for the hotline, it's 1-888-373-7888.
Okay.
And then our office number is 203-336-0141.
Yes. 0141. Thank you.
And then my email is super easy. It's lcruz. It's not with the second last name because I know that confuses everyone. It's lcruz@seriect.org. So.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make a call, get the information. We have immigrant young man that was brought here as a child. we're having some serious issues. He's been here since he was 5, 6 years old. It's been very difficult to get him some documentation, some papers, and we try to get him housing, but we can't get him housing because he don't have his birth certificate. He can't get a social security card or even a state of Connecticut ID. The only ID that I was able to get him was the city of Bridgeport ID, which is really can't do much. But anyway, I'll be passing on this numbers information to the team at DEMAS so they can be in contact with you to see how we can be able to help this individual. Thank you, Chief.
And I'll just say really quickly, we are going to have, we have the Connecticut Coalition Against Human Trafficking. Right now, it's only open to providers. Before it was open to everyone, but we really wanted providers to focus on services and how we could all connect. If anyone's interested in attending the meeting, we actually have one coming up next week, but if not, we'll, if you can't join that, we'll have one in the fall. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out as well.
Wonderful, thanks. So why don't we're gonna finish up. I'm sorry that we went over, but I think the information was phenomenal. I think the resource options are fantastic for our community, not only for the community, but for law enforcement as well, because it helps us expand our tools, our resources in dealing with the community. Deputy Chief Baraha, do you have any last words you'd like to say?
No, if anything, I've worked with some of you in various different roles. It was nice to see some faces I haven't seen in a long time. Like Chief Garcia mentioned, I thank you for your work. It is something I know that is very valuable to the community, and thank you for being there. I know it's something that I couldn't personally do, but I appreciate it because of that fact, because I know it's something that the community needs, that if you weren't there, it wouldn't be possible.
So why don't we, thank you for that. Why don't we have, let's go backwards. So we had the phone numbers, contact numbers for Siri. How about if we have one person from CASA give a contact number for each other and for the community that may be listening in, a contact number for CASA? Anyone from CASA? Cynthia, Linda?
Yep,
Wendy?
Cynthia, CASA Women's Reach Program, 203-224-8997. That's my personal cell phone. And I will always just relay the information to my colleagues.
Okay. Thank you so much. Harold Dimbo, for Project Longevity, a contact number that if anybody needs more information or resources.
Okay, Chief. Yes, that's 203-650-1626, and that's my cell phone number.
Okay, thank you for that, Harold. And also, Harold Dimbo actually has different outreach events that he does in the community too. So you can look him up as well. We can probably put some up on our police website as well.
Yes, we're just upgrading that as we speak, Chief, and we can also work later on to maybe make a mailing list or get it on our Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's work we can do in that.
Yeah, we can share this information with the community through our police department website as well. Ms. Reed from Liberation, would you like to give a contact number for anyone that has further questions or needs assistance for a program?
Sure, my cell phone number is 203-278-1637.
Okay, thank you for that. And Ms. Greenwood.
Yes.
Center for Family Justice, is there a best number to reach out for resources, contact, etc.?
Yes, I have two. The main office number at the Center for Family Justice is 203-334-6154, but the 24/7 hotline is 203-384-9559. And if someone is calling and needs the bilingual line, it will immediately roll right over into the Spanish hotline.
All right. Thank you all so much. If there are no further questions or recaps, I just can't thank you enough for being a participant in this event. Hopefully it will go out into the community, and the community will know that we have joined forces together for one Bridgeport, right? One Bridgeport, because we're working together, one Bridgeport, and then we can recap if you have people reach out to you and there are things that we can do together to effectuate positive impact, positive change. We'll be more than happy to team up with you all and continue doing the work that we do. So thank you all so very much for being a part of tonight. You guys rock.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Chief. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chief.
Productivity
Chief.
and
Bye.
liberation.
Bye, thank
Everybody.
you.